Talking some Spurs here as the season is now well underway. The biggest thing right now has been sort of this whole transition year, going from like kind of the veteran movement to the youth guys. And so what are your thoughts early on, 7 games in?
Early on, a lot of youth on the Spurs team, a whole lot of young fellas. We've got some mature guys. We've got some guys who've actually played. You know, a lot of these guys played in the bubble.
Yeah.
And they improved in the bubble. It was only an 8-game bubble trip. Mm-hmm. But last year in Orlando, you saw some guys really able to step up and improve their game. Keldon Johnson was one that stands out for us. And then this year so far, it's kind of what we expected. There's a big learning curve for these guys because they got some new faces with Fazell and a couple other guys. But they got to get used to getting back into it. It's a different year because of the scheduling. It's a different year because of there's only 72 regular season games. They only had 3 preseason games. So I'm thinking at 3 and 4 at the time we're recording this, they're pretty much where I thought they would be. Yeah, especially after you figure they played the Lakers twice already.
That's a great point because I think that when you looked at the start of the schedule this season, 3 out of 4. 3 and 4 is not bad, actually. Yeah. And I think we're seeing a lot of what you mentioned, kind of that streakiness. Look, they're going to have these nights where against the Jazz, they were just awful. And you could just tell they were just not in the game whatsoever. Yesterday came back, looked pretty good. So I think that that's really kind of been an interesting aspect so far. You mentioned some of the young guys, David. Who's kind of impressed you the most out of this group that we're seeing now?
I've said it many a time already. Keldon Johnson's a stud. that kid he comes to play every night. Yeah. He's one of those guys that'll drive it right into the big guys and not think twice about doing it. Just love his game. Love the fact that he can drive it to the hole. He can hit a mid-range and he can hit the 3. And even more importantly, as you ask Greg Popovich, he plays some defense. And we like the defense. And think of this. He's the leading rebounder on the Spurs, averaging 8 rebounds a game. So he's not afraid to get in there with the bigger guys. He's 6'6". He's not afraid to get in there with those bigger guys and mix it up a little bit. And I love that. I mean, he's very strong. Yeah. He's the guy right now that I like to keep my eye on.
When you think about it, he's had to guard LeBron James, Pascal Siakam. I mean, some of the top guys yesterday, Kawhi Leonard. So he is really getting a trial by fire. But the good thing was that we saw him sort of perform in the bubble, and he's kind of carried that on. As you mentioned, he's pretty fearless. He's not afraid to attack the rim, and really, I mean, one of these guys that you can tell night in, night out is going to bring it. Very much a Manu Ginobili type of guy.
And no training camp.
Yeah, that too.
He missed the whole training camp. But love the way he plays.
Yeah, pretty impressive stuff. So I will say, you know, we had mentioned earlier DeJounte Murray. I think that I kind of feel early on that as the Spurs go, you know, DeJounte goes also. So I think that when DeJounte's on his game, the Spurs kind of seem like a little bit more of a free-flowing team. What are your thoughts early on DeJounte and maybe even Lonnie Walker, since there is no Derek White for the foreseeable future?
I like the way DeJounte came back. Remember, he had a really rough game a couple games ago when he was 1 for 14 shooting. And then against the Clippers, he came back and had a much better night, had 21 points. And, you know, last year, you know, he would hang his head if he made a mistake. And he'd be kind of lost for several minutes. Yeah. And it's like hitting a bad golf shot, and you're so upset that you just blow the next 3 holes because you're still
You ever done that?
upset about once or twice. So, but, I mean, that's kind of what it reminded me of. But now he's kind of learned to manage even when he's having a rough night. And he's still got to understand that there's a lot more you can do on the floor. If you're not scoring, you can still play some defense. You know, I mean, he played in point guard a lot. So, you know, you can still control the offense for the other guys and set the other guys up if you're not having a great shooting night. And it's looked like he's matured a lot. He's still making some mistakes. He got caught the other night with a steal at the end of the Clippers game. And that was kind of I don't want to say lazy, but it was kind of a lazy play. You know, you got to really pay attention down the stretch. But he has improved a lot from last year when he was just, you know, make a mistake and then he would be gone for, you know, several minutes.
I really feel it is one of the most interesting dynamics when it comes to this team because we all know that Pop's history with point guards, especially when it came to Tony Parker. And even in that Clippers game, the camera shot kind of caught DeJounte and Pop kind of having a little bit of a disagreement is what I'll call it. But you could tell that he he was upset with him, but at the same time, DeJounte said after the game that kind of just fires him up, that kind of gets him going. So I think DeJounte is really going to be kind of the balance between where this team is and where we kind of end up.
And when you hear DeJounte talk about Pop and how much respect he has for him and how much love he has for him, it's kind of like that Tony Parker relationship.
Yeah.
Tony Parker loved Pop. Pop would jump all over Tony all the time, but he knew that what he could get out of Tony, and he knew what button to push, when to push it. And I think he's treating DeJounte the same way. And DeJounte so far has seemed to be, responding. I mean, still early, but he seems
definitely
to be responding.
early.
And then a couple of the other guys, I mean, Lonnie Walker is just Mr. Smooth. The guy, he walks smooth, he runs smooth, he shoots smooth.
Just glides through the air.
He's just smooth. Yeah. That's all. And then, he's improved a lot. He's still trying to find his way a little bit, but love his game. And then Vassell, man, Devin is just.
Yeah.
He's beyond his years. He is an 11th. He should have been a top 5 or top 10.
He should have, and you could see
Spurs
why.
got lucky to get him.
You could see the Spurs, why the Spurs were so high on him, why they really felt like they got someone who can be an immediate contributor. Because I think that, again, for him, no preseason, or he did. We did have a preseason, but no offseason really, no G League or no summer league. So really, it's kind of been like just throw him in there and see what he could do. And with Derek White out, Vassell's going to get some good minutes here.
The third takeaway from so far from this young season is the fact that some of the veterans are stepping up, and you knew they would. And I'm really thankful that DeMar decided to stay, because even if he's not contributing a lot on the floor, you think maybe where is he? He's not scoring a lot this game. He's letting some of these other guys. He's deferring to some of these other guys, but he's teaching these other guys, and he's an example to these other guys. So he's having a pretty solid. He's leading the Spurs in scoring. He's having a pretty solid year. And LaMarcus hurt a couple of games, but he's going to find his way. But Patty Mills, I mean.
Yeah, again, just sort of.
Has he aged at all?
No, I feel like Patty's just getting better, like a fine wine, I guess. Like,
I guess, man.
He must have, Patty's been drinking a different cold brew or espresso this season, because he's been great so far coming off the bench. And I think that core group of veterans, the fact that they do like these younger guys, I think really kind of sets a good tone. It's a positive tone. They know that these younger guys are going to make mistakes. They know that there's going to be bumps in the road. But like you mentioned, DeMar DeRozan has really kind of been a bit of a locker room leader. Rudy Gay always speaks pretty highly of these guys. Yep. And Patty Mills, of course, is just kind of that all sort of encompassing spiritual guy that every team kind of needs.
And you go back to when DeMar said he was going to stay with the Spurs. He had some unfinished business. But I think one of the reasons that he stayed was because he knew he could be a leader on this team, and he knew he could help develop these young guys and kind of leave his mark in San Antonio for what he can do for these young kids out there. And so far, they're 3-4 when we're taping this, so I mean it's hard to complain.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, obviously you would have liked maybe to get one of those Lakers games, possibly that second one. But again, this is all. I mean, you're going against LeBron, Anthony Davis. I mean, literally like all stars, all pros, almost every game. The schedule will lighten up, so hopefully they could rack up a few wins.
And I'm still sticking with probably the bottom 4.
Yes, definitely. 7th, A seed, maybe they could sneak into the playoffs through that. So. Wow, 6 seed, all right.
But you never know. I mean, if they keep getting better, and the schedule works in their favor.
And Derek White, I mean, you keep on the same.
He's not even back. He fractured a toe, which was not related to the injury he had during the offseason. So, hopefully they'll get him back in a few weeks. And
tough news for Derek, but all right. So, David, those are our 3 takeaways from sort of the start of the season, what we've seen so far from the young guys, the older guys. Any sort of final thoughts, David?
Go Spurs, go.